country, and for the longest time we didn't get to really eat of the fruit, but we got the worst of everything. So that thou shalt be mad for the sight of thine eyes, which thou shalt see. And we know our people, because of truly oppression maketh a wise man mad. You see all the riots and everything going on. Our people, not just our people, but people across the world that actually can see it. This is not just here in America. This is going on everywhere. There's riots everywhere. 4 major cities in America. So, yeah, it's bad. Like, it's been bad. 46. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. Now, when the Most High says forever, that is forever. Verse 46, forever. And a lot of our people don't even realize the reason why these generational curses can't break the cycle. You know, all the raping, alcoholism, adultery, whatever, this, and that, is because they refuse to adhere to knowledge, to wisdom, to understanding. They refuse because they lean on to their own understanding. Yeah. 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which Yahuwah shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. Now, a lot of people say that, well, you aren't destroyed, you aren't still here. That means that's a mental destruction. Because he said he would never destroy his people or kill off his people. And a lot of our people are truly destroyed. I mean, have no sense at all, don't have any hope of anything. Just think, you know, living on Section 8, living in the projects, living this and that is just going to be, that's the best they can get. You know, women purposely getting these pregnant by these dudes so they can get all these extra checks because they just think that's the best way they can live. And our people are still in this. And, you know, our people work here in yokes of iron and across the world in yokes of iron. And we still have to go to other nations for everything, for food, for water. You can't even have to, in a lot of places you can't even collect rainwater, you know, for clothing, even to get money, housing, jobs, employment. We own less businesses now than we did back in the times of the Black Wall Street. Which, if we're supposedly progressing, how come we're backtracking in that sense? So just the things to think about. Now I'm going to read verses 48 through 50. Well, 49 and 50 mainly. 48 and 50. That's 49 and 50, my bad. Yahuwah shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the to the young. Now, we know, because the Most High, he puts everything in plain sight. It just so happens America's symbol happens to be the eagle. Yep. Just so happens. That's also the symbol for Edom. That is, everywhere that they go and they conquer, when they rule, they always have an eagle as their symbol. Rome, once they took over and infiltrated Rome, actually, through some of the history, they actually founded Rome, if we're being technically honest. And when it talks about a fierce nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of old, nor show favor to the young, we had, what's his name, Ahmed, and, that got gunned down. And then when we just had George Floyd, you know, like what really got me about that whole situation was he kept telling him, I can't breathe, he was crying out for help. It got to the point where he knew he was going to die. A grown man calling out for his mama. Yeah. Like, I don't know anybody else, but that's when, like, that right there, that was something a little bit different for me. And you got 3 other officers with their weight on them, 1 officer over there keeping everybody else at bay, and nobody cares about his life. And for allegedly for maybe an alleged counterfeit bill, allegedly, which can't be proven. And then the plot actually thickens because George Floyd and the cop that ended up killing him were working at the same as security guards, I think at a strip club, for like 17 years. So the guy knew him. It wasn't like he didn't know him. So yeah, it's looking more like a hit actually happened. Yeah. There's a lot more to this story. A lot more. And then, you know, because, you know, the governor, he did a speech, and it was interesting about the governor of Minnesota's speech, because he said, this is not something just been brewing this year. He said, this is something that's been brewing for 400 years. Interesting that he used the term for 400 years. Right. It was really interesting that he said that. And he said, yeah, there's going to be swift judgment this, swift judgment that, this and that. Now, the cop, he was arrested, but it's third degree murder, which is basically manslaughter, which is manslaughter. But and what the coroner is trying to say is George Floyd didn't die from asphyxiation. He's trying to say that he died from other health issues, like he went into cardiac arrest. So if that ends up being the case, then there's a good chance that this thing is going to eat. We know when the fix is in, because they slay us and find themselves not guilty. Now, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but the fact that they're saying that it wasn't from the asphyxiation or being suffocated, that's indicative of what they're really trying to do. They're trying to give them a less charge. And even the cops that got fired through arbitration, they can potentially get their jobs back. That's what people don't understand. There's a lot of stuff going on. So you got to really get in there and really... But... I mean, we sold ourselves. This is our fault. The Most High was just when He sent us in captivity, because He kept sending prophets and apostles and whatever else you want to say. He had judges and everything, and our people refused to adhere because we're a stiff-necked people. Yeah, but that whole story, that was crazy. Okay, so now we're going to go to, I'm going to read verses 53 through 55. And thou shalt eat the fruit of thine own body. I want y'all to remember this one. And thou shalt eat the fruit of thine own body, the flesh of thy sons and the flesh of thy daughters, which Yahuwah thy Elohim hath given thee in the seeds and in the straightness wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee, so that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eyes shall be evil toward his brother, and toward the wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children which he shall leave, so that he will not give any of them of the flesh of his children whom he shall eat, because he hath nothing left him in the siege and in the straightness wherewith thine enemy shall distress thee in all thy gates. Now, this is talking about when the gates of Jerusalem, when we're being sieged by our enemies. But this also happened here because we talked before. Those of us that ended up being killed by our slave masters or died or whatever were fed to pigs, and they will feed us the very same pigs. Right. So, when he said you're going to eat the fruit of thy body, you're going to eat the fruit of thy body. The Most High don't play. But, it's going to get worse. I'm going to read verses 56 through 58. The tender and delicate woman, remember this one, among you, which would not have ventured to set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness. Her eyes shall be evil toward the husband of her bosom, and toward her son, and toward her daughter, and toward her young one that cometh out from between her feet, and toward her children which she shall bear, for she shall eat them for want of all things, secretly in the siege and straightness, wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee in thy gates. Remember that one specifically. If thou wilt not observe to do all the words of this law that are written in this book, that thou mayest fear the glorious and fearful name, Yahuwah thy Elohim. We're almost done. So now, to finish it off, 64 through 67. Wait, did I just read that? It should be 64 through 67. Actually, copy and pasted the same thing twice. Let me go to it here. 64 through 67. And Yahuwah shall scatter thee among all people from the one end of the earth even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other Elohims, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. And among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. But Yahuwah shall give thee a trembling heart, and failing of eyes, and sorrow of mind, and thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shalt have none assurance of thy life. In the morning thou shalt say, would Elohim it were evening, and at evening thou shalt say, would Elohim it were morning, for the fear of thine heart wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see. And of course, we went into slave ships, that's why they put that. Verse 68. But we know right now, especially our people, we have to raise our children differently, especially when we're getting pulled over by cops, when they're doing things out in public. Because I know it's a very scary thing to get pulled over by a cop, even to this, even if, because there literally is a thing called DWB, driving while black, or DWH, driving while Hebrew in our case. Because a lot of our people, we just don't know, and we could be running, you're just going for a run, and they talked about how his name was Ahmed, right? Ahmad. Yeah, Ahmad they were chasing him for like 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's...
It wasn't just he just ran up on them. They were chasing him
Right.
for 4 or 5 minutes. So the person who was videotaping, there's no telling how long he was actually videotaping instead of actually trying to help the situation. And I mean, especially nowadays, if you're going on long trips somewhere or trips places, go with multiple people in multiple cars. Like say if you got Caucasian people that are good people, have at least one of them with you. I mean, 'cause you got to take extra precautions because I didn't get to put everything in here that I wanted to. The Purge movies, you know, the Purge movies, there's one day of the year to where you can do anything. You can rape, rob, murder, kill. Like, the Purge have gotten so big that now they made a TV show about it. But then, I think it's either in 2018 or 2017, they made the first Purge movie. And in the first Purge movie, so they went all the way back to the beginning, they were coming for our people in the first Purge movie. They were coming to kill our people. And the thing about it was the government, and they were in covert, they were in plain clothes, and they were walkie-talkies, and they were coming in our ghettos and apartment complexes and going to go kill our people. Well, it turns out what's happening in Minnesota, how the rioting actually started, people were videotaping. They actually took a picture of this guy. It was a doggone cop. It was a white cop, a Caucasian cop, and he was the one that started the vandalization. So he had an umbrella to try to hide his face. He had this big mask on, and people were literally calling him out. And I didn't get to put that in there, talking about, "Hey, are you a cop? Are you a cop?" And then he started to hurry up and get out of there. But it was a doggone cop. Yeah, it's all over social media. So, and they're doing this because once they have martial law and implement all this stuff, they have perfect cause, and then the first purge, and people don't put 2 and 2 together. So yeah, I ended up finding that out, and I was like, yo, that's crazy, because I went crazy on Facebook yesterday, because the racist in people has really been coming out lately.
Definitely.
Bad, because they're trying to rationalize and defend the cop, and one guy was like, he either called him a monkey, or he said he was glad that the dude died and hope he didn't breed, and good riddance to him. And if you read the comments, you'd be shocked at the kind of stuff that they're saying.
They are being blunt about it.
Yeah. Yeah, so bad Jessica was telling me she just had to get off of Facebook and social media because
I had to turn off CNN.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't know why you'd be watching it like that, because that's...
And then the CNN reporter got arrested. It's like, so nobody else got arrested? That was a news reporter? Yeah. So,
and especially in this day and time, so if you're going to do a peaceful protest, nobody can stop you. Y'all are all grown. I'm just saying, be wise and have your phone out and record stuff, because especially because that's what they do, and all of these things, because people are going crazy talking about, oh, look at them, they're just rioting, you know, the president called the people doing all this thugs, this and that. Turns out there's a whole lot more Caucasians than people thought of in there. There's Asian people, there are Indian people, there's people of all walks doing all that. But the one who started that vandalizing Minnesota was a white cop. Was on white cops all over social media. Yep. All over social media. So you got to be careful. Because it's COINTELPRO. Just like they infiltrated Martin Luther King and his organization establishment. They infiltrated the Black Panthers. Yep. Nation of Islam. That's what they do. And they'll use people who we think are our friends of other nations. Yep. I'm not saying everyone's like that, but they'll use people that are really good speaking to make you think these really sound like a lot of people love Bernie Sanders. But do they really go into the research into Bernie Sanders? Right. Or all these other people? No, they don't. If you do, you probably wouldn't like them. But, again, just be careful if you're going to do that. I don't know if it's going to come here or not. But the civil unrest is a real thing, and we're like 1 or 2 more major deaths like that away from there being a full-blown race riot. We're at the tipping point.
There's a protest tomorrow in Tulsa. I know that. They've already been sharing it.
Yeah, I won't be attending that.
Yeah. But yeah, and I'm really, at this point, I don't even think it's going to be literally a race riot. Because, like you said, there's more Caucasian and other colors doing this protesting and these riotings. So it's not just black people anymore. I think it's going to be a whole civil war of it's basically good and evil, because that's just basically what it is.
So let's try to get into Nation Against Nation. Again, that's the title. It's not really about that, but it kind of is, because they've been trying to push this, and they've been programming us in movies and TV shows and even in political propaganda for years, and it's coming.
Yep.
So people, you got to be careful who you trust, who you let know your information, your business, whatever. I'm of the belief that the purge is literally going to come. It's going to happen, whether the government sanctions it or not. We know the KKK is still alive.
Yep.
2018, they had an article talked about the rise of white nationalism. That was 2 years ago, and like that's one of the biggest threats to the country. The other biggest threat that they're trying to say is a black messiah. They said that's the #1 threat to the country. I forgot, was that Hoover? I forget which president said that was the biggest threat to the United States, a black messiah that will unite everybody. So, okay, so nation against nation. So let's go to Matthew 24. We're actually going to read the whole thing. And we're going to come back and skim on a few things, but I think I'll start it. I'll read like the first 10 verses and somebody else can jump in. And Yahushua went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him for to show him the buildings of the temple. And Yahushua said unto them, See you not all these things? Verify I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming, and the end of the world? And Yahushua answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Hamashiach, and shall deceive many. And you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass. Must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. Then they shall deliver you up to be afflicted, and they shall kill you, and you shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. Now,
Wow.
before whoever's reading next reads, notice he says that you will be hated of all nations. He didn't say... I'm going to say a term. He didn't say Christians would be hated of all nations. He said you would. He's talking to his disciples. He's talking to his people. And if you we've read the stories before. We're going to read each account just to make sure we're getting the whole scope of it. But our people don't even understand that's the reason why we're hated, and that's the problem. It's not because you label yourself a Catholic, whatever. You're hated because of his namesake. Because whether you know or not, the Most High's name is on you.
Right.
It's on us. It's on us all. And they hate us because they don't have the covenant with the Most High. They can cleave to it, but they're not in covenant with the Most High. They hate us because they don't have the promises of Abraham. They can cleave to it, and get some of that, because the Most High is going to bless those that bless us. So they can get blessed, through that, but they don't have it inherently because the spiritual Israel, all this and that pertains to Israel. That people take things out of context because Paul makes it plain in Romans 9. And again, because our people are ignorant, because they reject knowledge, that's why the Most High has rejected us and our children. And until they start waking up, this stuff's going to happen. The Most High is literally waiting on us now.
Yeah.
He's waiting on us. He's waiting on the right amount of people to get right so we can be like, okay. Because at the 400-year mark now, you see all this craziness that didn't happen.
Right.
People try to say, oh, it was a hoax, this, and that. Look at the world. Look at America. We didn't have coronavirus. The stock market, our dollars was negative. We got riots everywhere because
Earthquakes.
those at the Most High, whose heart the Most High is really pulling, those he's pulling, they cannot unsee injustice.
Right.
But those that just want to keep the status quo the same, I'm just going to say one day, but whoever's going to read next, go ahead. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay. And many false prophets shall rise and shall deceive many. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations. And then shall the end come. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand.
Oh, real quick, does anybody know what the abomination of desolation is?
No.
I've heard it. Does anybody know what it is? Yep, just a question. Keep on, my bad.
Now I gotta write it down so I can find out what it is. Sorry. Okay. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house. Neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. And woe unto them that are with children, and to them that give suck in those days. Pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. And except those days
Hold on. Can you read that again? What did you just say?
Okay. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be.
So who's Yahushua talking to?
His people.
He's talking to Israelites. Because he told them to flee to the mountains. Now, in Christianity, we've been taught, the new temple's going to get built, and then they're going to start back sacrificing, which they are already in the works of doing all that, but people pay attention to the wrong people. And then when that happens, there's going to be an abomination, desolation, this and that, and then flee to the mountains. But let's keep reading and see what Yahushua says.
And except those days shall be shortened, there should be, shortened.
Daylight savings time.
Right. And the days feel really short. there should no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake those days shall be shortened. Then if any man shall say unto you, Lo, here is Christ, or there, believe it not. For there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall shew great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. Behold, I have told you before. Wherefore, if they shall say unto you, Behold, he is in the desert, go not forth. Behold, he is in the secret chambers, believe it not. For as the lightning cometh out of the east, and shineth even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For whosoever carcase is, there will the eagles be gathered together. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened.
Wait, when? After?
Immediately.
Okay.
After the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heaven shall be shaken. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory.
So, the second coming of Yahushua doesn't come until after tribulation. Because a lot of people try to say, there's a pre-tribulation rapture, or they say there's at the 3.5 year mark after, the 7-year treaty or whatever, there's a rapture, and then, so Yahushua comes back, raptures people, and then he comes back again. That's not anything. I don't even want to really want to talk about the rapture, but he comes back after tribulation. Because, if you read, what is this? After it. I think it's Deuteronomy 4. I know it's Deuteronomy 4. It's Deuteronomy 4. Let me get there.
Yeah. I don't know which one it is.
30. 4 and 30. When thou art in tribulation, all these things are come upon thee, even in the latter days, if thou turn to Yahuwah, thy Elohim, and shalt be obedient unto his voice. For Yahuwah, thy Elohim, is a merciful Elohim. He will not forsake thee, neither destroy thee, nor forget the covenant of thy fathers, which he sware unto thee. Because Yahushua said to endure unto the end. Not that he was going to save us from tribulation. I think it's John 16:33 talks about, let me get there, it says, "These things have I spoken unto you, that in me you might have peace. In the world you shall have tribulations, but be of good cheer, I have overcome the world."
Yeah.
You have to go through tribulation.
Yeah.
Because Noah, even in Noah's time, he warned people, he warned people, he warned people.
Mm-hmm.
You think he wasn't getting ridiculed and talk crazy? Because he prophesied for years or decades. He
While
prophesied
building a
about
boat.
that. And they thought he was crazy. So Noah definitely got ridiculed. Like, oh, you're a false prophet. It ain't never going to happen. It ain't never, da, 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 da. No, you have to go through tribulation. The Israelites in Mizraim, they didn't get raptured out of bondage. They got a deliverer was sent, and then they were able to leave. You have to go through tribulation.
Yeah.
There is no secret, oh, whoop-de-doo, I don't have to go through this. No. Because how is the Most High going to try you? Because then even after they made it out of Mizraim, what did he do? He took them in the wilderness for 40 years. And he tried them again. They had to go through tribulation. That's why everyone that was over the age of 20, say 2 people died. They died. So, my bad, keep going.
What was that, 31? And he shall, wait.
Mm-hmm.
And then, oh, yep, I was. And he shall send his angels with the great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the 4 winds, from one end of heaven to the other. Now learn a parable of the fig tree, when his branch is yet tender, and putteth forth leaves. Ye know that summer is nigh. So likewise ye, when ye shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my word shall not pass away. But of that day and that hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. But as the days of Noah, N-O-E, were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark. And knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be.
Okay, I'll read from now. But it says, in the days of Noah. Because again, Noah kept prophesying. He didn't even know when the Most High was going to finally bring this flood. He knew it was going to come. And a lot of people try to use that to say, oh, well, we don't know when all this stuff that's supposed to happen is going to happen. It's all a lot of this stuff in Matthew and Mark and Luke, it's already happened. But because we weren't really told to really dive into history, we don't know a lot of this stuff has already happened.
Right.
So, which we'll get into that here in a minute. Then shall 2 be in the field, the one shall be taken and the other left. 2 women shall be grinding at the mill, the one shall be taken and the other left. Watch therefore, for you know not what hour your master doth come. But know this, that if the good man of the house had known in what watch the thief would come, he would have watched, and would not have suffered his house to be broken up. Therefore be you also ready, for in such an hour as you think not the Son of Man cometh. Who then is a faithful and wise servant, whom his master hath made ruler over his household, to give them meat in due season? Blessed is that servant, whom his master, when he cometh, shall find so doing. Verily I say unto you, that he shall make him ruler over all his goods. But and if that evil servant shall say in his heart, my master delayeth his coming, and shall begin to smite his fellow servants, and to eat and drink with the drunken, the master of that servant shall come in a day when he looketh not for him, in an hour that he is not aware, and shall cut him asunder, and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth, a lot of crying, a lot of hollering and crying. So in this account, like we realize, Yahushua is talking to the Israelites, because he told them to flee to the mountains. He told them, I believe that was in this one, the predator flight, be not in the winter on the Sabbath day. And all these things talks about how they would be, put in front of judges and kings and this and that, and they would be, put to death and all these things. And that there would be tribulation like there will be never again on the earth. Never again on the earth like that tribulation. And he said that this generation shall not pass until these things are fulfilled. So let's go to Mark 13. Because, okay, yes, how do you read the Bible? Do you remember?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Prayer,
Mhm.
line upon line.
Mhm.
You want to say that whole part?
Line upon line, precept upon
Yeah.
precept, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little. Yeah.
Yes. You have to have 2 to 3 witnesses.
2 or 3 witnesses. Emma, when you get there, can you start from 1? We're going to read this whole thing. So you can read like 12 and then I'll jump in.
And as he went out of the temple, one of his disciples said unto him, Master, we see what manner of stones and what buildings are here. And Jesus answering said unto him, Seest thou these great buildings? There shall not be left one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives over against the temple, Peter and James and John and Andrew asked him privately, Tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign when all these things shall be fulfilled? And Jesus, answering them, began to say, Take heed lest any man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And when ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars, be ye not troubled, for such things must needs be, but the end shall not be yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be earthquakes in divers places, and there shall be famines and troubles. These are the beginnings of sorrows. But take heed to yourselves, for they shall deliver you up to councils, and in the synagogue you shall be beaten, and you shall be brought before rulers and kings for my sake, for a testimony against them. And the gospel must first be published among all nations. But when they shall lead you and deliver you up, take no thought beforehand what ye shall speak, neither do ye premeditate. But whatsoever shall be given you in that hour, that speak ye. For it is not ye that speak, but the Holy Ghost. Now the brother shall betray the brother to death, and the father the son, and children shall rise up against their parents, and shall cause them to be put to death.
No, as wicked as people are now, they definitely do that already.
Yeah.
And you shall be hated of all men for my name's sake, but he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. But when you shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, standing where it ought not. So whatever this thing is, it stands, apparently. Let him that readeth understand. Let them that be in Judea flee to the mountains. And let him that is on the housetop not go down into the house, neither enter therein to take anything out of his house. And let him that is in the field not turn back again for to take up his garment. But woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. And pray you that your flight be not in the winter. So that's a bad thing. For in those days shall be affliction such as was not from the beginning of creation, which Elohim created unto this time, neither shall be. So whenever that happened or happens, nothing's ever going to top that. And except that Yahuwah had shortened those days, no flesh should be saved. But for the elect's sake, whom he hath chosen, he hath shortened the days. We know who the elect are, right? And then, if any man shall say to you, Lo, here is Hamashiach, or Lo, he is there, believe him not. For false Christs and false prophets shall rise, and shall show signs and wonders to seduce, if it were possible, even the elect's sake. But take you heed, behold, I have foretold you all things. But in those days after that tribulation, but in those days after that tribulation, the sun shall be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars of heaven shall fall, and the powers that are in heaven shall be shaken. And then shall they see the Son of Man coming in the clouds with great power and glory. And then shall he send his Malaks or angels, and shall gather together his elect from the four winds. Excuse me, from the four winds, from the uttermost part of the earth to the uttermost part of the heaven. So again, which I think I'm going to go ahead and stop right there real quick and go to Isaiah. I think I know where it's at in Isaiah.
That's the same thing as Matthew 24.
Matthew 24 and Mark 13.
Yeah, they're really similar. They're similar in wording.
They're similar. Yeah, we're reading all the accounts of this. Yeah.
I was like, oh.
Just so we can get the whole story.
Right. Line up online. Got it.
I think it's this one. Pretty sure it's there. Yeah, go to Isaiah 43. Pretty sure it's that one. I'm just gonna double check that real quick. Hmm?
5 and 6.
Go ahead. You got it? Go ahead.
Fear not, for I am with thee. I will bring thy seed from the east, and gather thee from the west. I will say to the north, give up, and to the south, keep not back. Bring my sons from far, and my daughters from the ends of the earth.
But who is he doing that for, though?
Even everyone that is called by my name, for I have created him for my glory. I have formed him, yea, I have made him.
Okay, now go to Isaiah 42 and read verse 1.
42.
And can you go to Isaiah 45 and read verse 4?
It's verse 1.
Yeah, it should be 1 and 2 maybe.
Behold my servant whom I uphold, mine elect, in whom my soul delighteth. I have put my spirit upon him. He shall bring forth judgment to the Gentiles.
Now, we know now when that's talking about Yahushua, but we know who he's the seed of, even though he's technically the father and creator of it. You can go ahead and read that one.
For Jacob, my servant's sake, and Israel, mine elect, I have even called thee by thy name. I have surnamed thee. Thou that is not know me. No, never mind.
Oh.
Thou dost not know me.
Okay, so the elect is Israel. So when Yahushua says that he's sending his angels to the four corners, to the four winds, to save his elect, we got to stop. Like, if we have this idea of like a rapture where like there's people of literally all nations, just like the Left Behind movies, they lied. They flat out lied. That's a lie. It's not, because again, everyone's not in blood covenant. Like the Most High, he's gonna love people of other nations, but he's not in blood covenant with them. So I just wanted y'all to be able to see that. Now, what verse was I at?
Wow.
Y'all remember?
I don't remember.
I was in the 20s. I'll find it.
20. Start with
It's funny you made me
28.
read the Isaiah
28?
45 and 4. That's the one.
Yeah,
Diane,
we start
Sister
with
Diane told me to
27.
read.
Okay, yeah, I'm on 27. Okay. Then shall he send his Malaks or angels, and shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from the uttermost part of the earth to the uttermost part of heaven. Now, that thing is really interesting, the uttermost part of heaven, because there's allegedly different satellites and different colonies that they already have in space. They just haven't told us about it. Like, Trump's trying to be the first, trying to have the United States be the first ones to land on Mars. I don't know if people are aware of that. So now, because for some reason they're trying to get off this planet. I don't know why. Because something's coming. Because they know something's coming.
Yeah.
Now learn the parable of the fig tree. When her branch is yet tender, and putteth forth leaves, you know that summer is near. So you in like manner, when you shall see these things come to pass, know that it is nigh, even at the doors. Verily I say unto you, that this generation shall not pass till all things be done. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my word shall not pass away. But of that day and that hour knoweth no man, no, not the Malaks which are in the Shamayim, neither the Son, but the Father. Take you heed, watch and pray, for you know not when the time is. For the Son of Man is as a man taking a far journey, who left his house and gave authority to his servants, and to every man his work, and commanded the porter to watch. Watch you therefore, for you know not when the master of the house cometh, at evening, or at midnight, or at the cock crowing, or in the morning, lest coming suddenly he find you sleeping. And what I say unto you, I say unto all, watch. But he said, and that word generation in the Greek is genia. I guess that's where they get the word genealogy from, the way it looks. It means fathered, birth, nativity, that which has been begotten. It can also mean like the age, though. Yeah, it can mean age or generation. So he said, basically, that age or that generation of the people he was talking to would not pass until all of them were fulfilled. Now, almost everything was fulfilled physically. One thing wasn't fulfilled physically. Because John, when he saw Yahushua come, he saw him in the spirit. He didn't see him actually come and actually fulfill that portion of it. So we're still waiting for that to come, right? Okay, so now let us go to Luke 21.
Get your tablet. Oh, Devin. Oh, Luke 21.
Luke 21. When do y'all get there?
The whole thing?
Yeah. We're getting everything from the account so we can see if there's anything that we haven't seen before.
Uh-oh. Go tell him not just... I don't... Go tell him to put some tambourines down. Okay. And he looked up and saw the rich men casting their gifts into the treasury. And he saw also a certain poor widow casting in tither 2 mites. And he said, of a truth I say unto you, that this poor widow hath cast in more than they all. For all these have their abundance cast in unto the offerings of God. But she of her penury hath cast in all the living that she had. And as some spake of the temple, how it was adorned with godly stones and gifts, he said, as for these things which ye behold, the days will come, in the which there shall not be left one stone upon another, that shall not be thrown down. And they asked him, saying, Master, but when shall these things be? And what sign will there be when these things shall come to pass? And he said, take heed that ye be not deceived, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ. And the time draweth near. Go ye not therefore after them. But when ye shall hear of wars and commotions, be not terrified, for these things must first come to pass, but the end is not by and by. Then said he unto them, nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And great earthquakes shall be in divers places, and famines, and pestilences, and fearful sights, and great signs shall there be from heaven. But before all these, they shall lay their hand unto you, or on you, and persecute you, delivering you up to the synagogues and into prisons, being brought before kings and rulers for my name's sake.
So before the diverse earthquakes and famines and pestilences, all that stuff can happen. The devout ones had to go before all these people, proclaiming the basar, or the gospel, right? Keep going. I'm not even going to. I'll chill out on that. Go ahead.
And it shall turn to you for a testimony. Settle it therefore in your hearts, not to meditate before you shall answer. Mediate or meditate? Did I say that right?
Meditate.
Okay. For I will give you a mouth and wisdom, which all your adversaries shall not be able to gainsay or resist. And ye shall be betrayed both by parents and brethren and kinsfolks and friends, and some of you shall cause to be put to death. And ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake. But there shall not an hair of your head perish. And your patience possesses ye your souls. and your patience possesses ye your souls. And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh.
So, the abomination of desolation, remember we were talking about that earlier, that doesn't occur until the armies have compassed Jerusalem, right? Okay, keep going.
Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto.
Okay, you want to read? Or you want me to?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, go ahead. Number 22.
For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written, may be fulfilled. But woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days, for there shall be great distress in the land, and wrath upon this people.
Wait, wrath upon the whole world.
Upon this people.
The tribulation.
This
We've
people.
been in tribulation. That like it's been going on since before 70 AD. We weren't even a full. We were two different nations back then. It's been going on. Okay, keep going.
And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles, until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled.
Okay, now I could have sworn we just read that in Deuteronomy. I could have sworn we just read that in Deuteronomy. Am I tripping? Matter of fact, it's 60. What was that? No, Deuteronomy.
64 through 67.
It was 64 through 67. And Yahuwah shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other Elohim, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even when it's known. Among these nations thou shalt find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest, but Yahuwah shall give thee a trembling heart, and failing of eyes, and a sorrow of mind. But literally, that's the curses falling on the people again. Even though technically this is in the New Testament, all this stuff is getting ready to come to fruition. But literally, they are getting sold, or they're going into captivity, and they were sold actually. If you actually look at them. But I just wanted y'all to see that because I was like, wait a minute. Now, what verse were you on?
I'll finish 24.
And Jerusalem is trodden down of the Gentiles. Okay, keep going, my bad.
And there shall be signs in the sun, and in the moon, and in the stars, and upon the earth, distress of nations, with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring, men's hearts failing them for fear, and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth. For the powers of heaven shall be shaken. And then shall they see the Son of Man coming in the cloud with power and great glory.
Wait, so the Son of Man does not come back until we go captive into all nations. And we just never thought that we were special enough to be the people. So what I'm trying to show you is now the Son of Man can actually come back. Like, before he couldn't. Now he actually can. We've done that. We've literally done that. He could not come back until we went into captivity into all nations by the sword. He couldn't do it. It's his word. Can't return it to him void.
That's true. And when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh.
Wait, the redemption of the world draweth nigh. Your redemption. Our redemption draweth nigh. That's why all this stuff is going on right now. Our redemption is getting closer and closer. That's why they're killing us at higher clips, at higher rates. That's why now all these governments all of a sudden are trying to work together. Now the UN and this is going to sound crazy. The UN and the New World Order are trying to have a international celebration day for everybody in the world working together against the coronavirus. They are literally working together right now, and y'all about to start hearing about it here in a little bit. But they know what's coming. It's coming because our redemption is nigh. Because our heaven is their hell. They don't want to believe it. Literally, our heaven is their hell. They've had their heaven. They've had their time of rulership. Most High said that He would have healed Babylon. He would have healed them. But no. He would have healed them, but no. They don't care. Because what did He do for us? Because He kept telling us, look, I love judgment, but we weren't doing justice. We sold ourselves. And they're doing the same thing, except they're doing it even worse than we could ever do it. So when the Most High comes back, that sin cup, that cup of iniquity, that's to the full. There ain't no turning back from that. And they're going to try not to drink. He's going to be like, no, you're going to drink this cup. We had to drink. We've already been drunk from it. Again, our heaven is their hell. There's no other way to put it. And when I say there, I'm talking about all of the other nations that had us in captivity. Because if you read in, I think it's in Joel, it talks about how since when our sons and our daughters were sold into captivity, then their sons and their daughters are going to get sold into captivity, and we're going to sell them to, once we have their sons and their daughters, we're going to sell them to the Sabians. So then their children are going to be afar off. They're going to be like vagabonds in the earth. But I don't know where you were at. But
And he spake to them a parable.
Okay.
Behold the fig tree and all the trees. When they now shoot forth, you see and know of your own selves that summer is now nigh at hand. So likewise ye, when ye see these things come to pass, know ye that the kingdom of God is nigh at hand. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass away till all be fulfilled. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away. And take heed to yourselves, lest at any time your hearts be overcharged with
surfeiting
and drunkenness and
Yes,
cares
it's
of
just
this life,
drunkenness.
and so that day come upon you unawares. For as a snare shall it come on all them that dwell on the face of the whole earth. Watch ye therefore, and pray always, that ye may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass, and to stand before the Son of Man. And in that day time he was teaching in the temple, and at night he went out and abode in the mount that is called the Mount of Olives. And all the people came early in the morning to him in the temple for to hear him.
So we see now from all three accounts, Yahushua is talking to his people. The tribulation is for his people. He couldn't come back until we went into captivity to all nations. He couldn't do that. He literally couldn't do that. The sun, the moon, the stars, all those signs couldn't happen until that thing was fulfilled. Now that thing's fulfilled. Our people are waking up now.
Yeah.
Because now the Most High, like he said he'd do, he said he would send us a faintness of heart. And now our people waking up. Deuteronomy 30. You know, once we get back to Cleveland to the covenant, the Most High has got to adhere because it's his own word, and he watches his word. He guards his word.
Yes.
Because it cannot return unto him void.
That's true.
So that's the reason why it's not about coronavirus. It's not even about George being killed the way he was killed. It's because we're waking up.
Yeah.
And we're keeping feast days. And now we're all over YouTube. We're all over all these different social platforms. And now even those of other nations can see the truth now. And they are begging for forgiveness. They're waking up. And they understand because if the Most High is not going to accept somebody that won't accept his own people. He is not going to accept somebody that's not, because if they're not going to accept us, how are they going to accept Yahushua?
Yep.
How?
That's the truth.
He looks like us.
Exactly.
I mean, excuse me, we look like him.
Yeah.
So the pride in their heart is going to be their downfall. And I'm not talking about one specific race. I'm talking because you saw what the Chinese people did to us over there.
Yeah.
Even though they were the ones allegedly started the coronavirus, and they're going to try to act like we're the villains.
We're the
bad
ones
people kicking
that
our people
right.
out. I saw some of the videos and it was disgusting what they were doing to our people over there. Disgusting. And it's crazy that America, because we had a lot of Americans over there, America didn't retaliate, didn't do anything. But now, in case y'all didn't know, Trump, yesterday, he officially terminated, with the WHO and with China. So,
And Hong Kong.
Hong Kong. No, I think he was saying that what China did was against the whatever agreement they had. I think
Yeah,
he's
but he
for it.
severed it with them too because he said that they were
Okay.
overarching everything with Hong Kong, and Hong Kong was getting all those privileges,
Okay.
and I guess on the slide or whatever. So he terminated everything with them.
And I was talking to a friend. It really kind of sounded like war talk because you doing all this and that, sever ties. Now you're not going to be paying anything to World Health Organization. Everything basically in America is from China. So, and we already know we're at the brink of another recession, whatever you want to call it.
Depression.
Yeah, depression. And it really sounds like war talk. And you remember Daddy's dream. Because America got spread so thin, and next thing you know, there was a whole bunch of Asiatic people over here, and they took over. Unaware. And
it was pretty strong yesterday. I said it was pretty strong.
yeah, he didn't even answer questions. He just walked out. He dropped the mic like, now what? Like, what you gonna do now? That's a.
Got to be praying, boy.
And so now that we've gone over that, there's just a few things. I'm gonna go back to Matthew 24 because verse 7: For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. Now, what's wrong? What's wrong?
Too much.
Oh, okay.
Okay, right there. Thank you.
So what does that mean? Nation against nation. What does that mean?
I guess like
Could be race against race. I mean,
right, the other
more than
nations,
perfect, yeah.
all the other nations, including us.
What does kingdom against kingdom mean?
Probably country against country.
kingdom of God is the kingdom of darkness.
You act like you know something. So yeah, so I went to the concordance on it because I mean I already knew, but for people that may be viewing, they may not know it. So nation, originally a multitude denotes a nation or a people. It's a people. So a lot of times people read that, oh yeah, it's like the United States against Russia, and this is no. Because they are pushing this race war. And with the rise of white nationalism, and with the awakening, because it's crazy how our people are starting to wake up at alarming rates, and then white nationalism just going through the roof.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous because the awakening, they can't stop it. They can't stop it. They can't refute it because it's the truth. You can't refute the truth. You know, you can refute a fact because facts can change. The truth doesn't change.
Right.
That's true. And it says the reference is to Israel in its restored condition, nations as distinct from Israel, but y'all see what it is. Foreign of another nation, yada yada yada. And then for kingdom, like y'all said, but actually kingdom is not necessarily another nation, according to the concordance. Kingdom, royal power, kingship, dominion, rule, not to be confused with an actual kingdom, but rather the right or authority to rule over a kingdom. So those that are behind the king, those are the royal, like the British nobility, all these other countries that they are secretly controlling and ruling. They're the ones that are going to be going into war with all these other people. That's what that's actually saying. So I thought that was really interesting. Because I was thinking, you know, people against people, race against race, like y'all were saying, and country against country. It can mean country against country, but it's mainly the people that are in power going to making a country go to war with somebody else, even though they may not want to. That's what that really is. Because that's why there's presidents. Because presidents aren't kings; they're administrators of a king or a queen. That's all they are, administrators, glorified administrators. Okay. So now I'm going to go to verses 9 through 10. Then, I'm just going to reread them. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and you shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. Now, especially in this awakening, there's a lot of different sects in Christianity, sects even in, I guess we would say, the awakening. And you can already tell, like, a lot of these people are paid agents. A lot of these people wish death on you, and they really want to kill you. I mean, they try to kill you with their mouth. Because I'm telling you, some of these people, you think they got the Holy Spirit, and the way they talk, it's ridiculous. Just straight up disrespectful. But the being hated of all nations, especially in the awakening, because that's like amplified the hate. Because we know who we are now.
Check your brother.
We don't keep our head down anymore. We know what's coming, and now with all the information coming out, they are starting to know what's coming, and a lot of them can't stand it. A lot of them, like, there's a reason why our government has been chasing and trying to reverse engineer UFOs. There's a reason why they've been trying to go to the moon while they want to go to Mars. For one, these movies like Star Wars and all this and that, they're literally going to try to go to war. That's like perfect example, Independence Day. with Will Smith. This big alien force and a big spaceship comes, and all mankind comes together, and they beat the force. They're programming us because how is Yahushua going to come back in the cloud? Even back in those days, when Ezekiel saw the wheel inside the wheel, that was a ship. It was a spaceship that can fly, whether people believe it or not. I don't believe in aliens are angels because they're not of this earth. That's by definition. And so they're programming people to think that there's this big alien forces coming. All the Avengers movies, The Flash, and all these TV shows.
Wow.
There's these alien forces that just come, and all of Earth have to come together, and we band together, and then we fight, and then we win. They're programming us to think, for one, that there's no creator, and for two, that whatever is coming is actually going to be coming to destroy us. Now, don't get me wrong, that's what Yahushua is coming to do, but he's coming to destroy the evil ones that have been doing evil to his inheritance, which is our inheritance. Because that's the Most High. Everything is the Most High's. So, a lot of people don't realize, they don't put two and two together. I'm like, man, how do you not know that? What do you think the cloud was that was leading? You think it was a literal cloud? The Most High was in a literal cloud with all these other angels leading the Israelites in the wilderness. It's got to be something that can fly. It's got to be something that can go through portals, because there's a reason why there's portals in especially in Jerusalem and the Sinai Peninsula, all these different places, even in Babylon, which I'll get into that another time, because that stuff's interesting. Because when I get into that, that's going to be
Portals. That's kind of cool.
Hmm.
Because the portals, what's it called? What they call it? The triangle? The Bermuda Triangle?
Bermuda Triangle,
That's
yep.
a portal.
That is a portal.
So, they're like, oh, you're getting lost in the Bermuda Triangle, and nobody finds them. Like,
Why does nobody find them?
right. Yeah.
That's why there's no-fly zones around Antarctica and all this is that.
Yeah, no. Like,
Because they want to hide too much stuff. So, I just want to read Matthew 10 verses 14 through 22. And whosoever shall not receive you, nor hear you your words, when you depart out of that house or city, shake off the dust of your feet. Verily I say unto you, it shall be no more tolerable for the land of Sodom and Gomorrah in the day of judgment than for that city. Again, if they can't accept us and the word the Most High has given us to give the people, the Most High ain't going to accept them either. He just rejected his word, right? Verily I say unto you, okay, I read that. Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be you therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves. But beware of men, for they will deliver you up to the councils, and they will scourge you in their synagogues. And ye shall be brought before governors and kings for my name's sake, or for my sake, for a testimony against them and the Gentiles. And the Gentiles. And the Gentiles. Because they think all is forgiven and it's just peace and love and this and that. Like, I don't hate nobody.
Right.
I forgive you. I don't forget what y'all done by any stretch of the imagination. But if our people had to be judged, you're not better than me.
yeah.
If we had to be judged, y'all have to be judged. But when they deliver you up, take no thought. Here we go again. How or what you shall speak, for it shall be given you in that time of the child, and the children shall rise up against their parents, and cause them to be put to death, wicked. And you shall be hated of all men for my name's sake. But he that endureth to the end shall be saved. It's an endurance thing. I'm going to go to Luke 21 real quick and read verse 12. But before all these, they shall lay their hands on you and persecute you, delivering you up to the synagogues and into prisons, being brought before kings and rulers for my name's sake. None of that stuff can happen until the stuff happened to us, because judgment starts at the house of Elohim. It has to happen to us first. I'm going to go to John 16 and read verses 2 through 4. I'll start at 1. These things have I spoken unto you, that you should not be offended. They shall put you out of the synagogues. Yea, the time cometh that whosoever killeth you will think that he doeth Elohim a service. How many of us was, hung, burned, shot to death, died with a knee in their neck, and they think they're doing a service to the Most High? And these things will they do unto you because they have not known the Father nor me. They don't know him. They don't know. They don't know the judgment that's coming. They think it just happens to us and everybody else. But it's coming. It's coming. But these things have I told you, that when the time shall come, you may remember that I told you of them. And these things I said not unto you at the beginning, because I was with you. Just wanted to read those things now. So, remember I was talking earlier about the abomination of desolation, right? So we're going to go back to Matthew 24. And can somebody read verses 15 and 16? And can you go to Luke 21 and just read 16 through 24 for me?
21, 16 through 24.
Mm-hmm. 24. Just verse 15 and 16.
When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whosoever readeth, let him understand. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains.
Okay, so whatever this abomination of desolation is, it's got to be standing in the holy place. Okay. You can go ahead.
And ye shall be betrayed by, And ye shall be betrayed both by parents and brethren and kinsfolks and friends, and some of you shall they cause to be put to death. Yeah, I'm on the right place. And ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake, but there shall not an hair of your head perish. In your patience possesses ye your souls, and when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, they know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out. And let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto. For these be the days of vengeance. Did I say that right?
Mm-hmm.
That all things which are written may be fulfilled. But woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. For there shall be great distress in the land, and wrath upon this people. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles, until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled.
Okay, so we read that just so we can get over this desolation real quick. So I'm going to go to Daniel 9. I'm going to read verses 26 and 27, and Daniel 11, verse 31. And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, that's Yahushua, but not for himself, because he died for the people. And the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. Now that's the destruction in 70 AD. And the end thereof shall be with a flood, and unto the end of the war desolations are determined. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. And this is talking about the guy that came, the prince that came. And in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. And for the overspreading of abominations he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation, which is the marriage between us and the Most High. And that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. And arms shall stand on his part. They shall pollute the sanctuary of strength, and shall take away the daily sacrifice, and they shall place the abomination that maketh desolate. So, in order to understand that, we actually have to go to the Maccabees. So I'm going to go there real quick, because I put a lot on there, but I was hoping we could have more readers. So we're going to First Maccabees, chapter 1. And just when you get there, we're going to start at verse 20.
Okay, at 20. To read. And after that, Antiochus.
Antiochus.
what did you say? Antiochus had smitten Egypt. He returned again in the 143rd year, and went up against Israel and Jerusalem with a great multitude, and entered proudly into the sanctuary, and took away the golden altar, and the candlestick of light, and all the vessels thereof, and the table of the shewbread, and the pouring vessels, and the vials, and the censers of gold, and the veil, and the crown, and the golden ornaments that were before the temple, all which he pulled off. He took also the silver and the gold and the precious vessels. Also he took the hidden treasures which he found. And when he had taken all away, he went into his own land, having made a great massacre and spoken very proudly. Therefore there was a great mourning in Israel, in every place where they were, so that the princes and elders mourned, the virgins and young men were made feeble, and the beauty of woman was changed. Every bridegroom took up lamentation, and she that sat in the marriage chamber was in heaviness. The land also was moved for the inhabitants thereof, and all the house of Jacob was covered with confusion. And after 2 years fully expired, the king sent his chief collector of tribute unto the cities of Judah, who came unto Jerusalem with a great multitude, and spake peaceable words unto them, but all was deceit. For when they had given him credence, he fell suddenly upon the city, and smote it very sore, and destroyed much people of Israel.
Okay, I'll read. And when he had taken the spoils of the city, he set it on fire, and pulled down the houses and walls thereof on every side. But the women and children took they captive, and possessed the cattle. So they took the women and children, and he took the showbread, and he took gold and silver and all the precious things from the temple, and slaughtered a bunch of people. Then builded they the city of David with a great and strong wall, and with mighty towers, and made it strong for them. And they put therein a sinful nation, wicked men, and fortified themselves therein. They stored it also with armor and victuals, and when they had gathered together the spoils of Jerusalem, they laid them up, and so they became a sore snare. For it was a place to lie in wait against the sanctuary, an evil adversary to Israel. Thus they shed innocent blood on every side of the sanctuary, and defiled it, insomuch that the inhabitants of Jerusalem fled because of them, whereupon the city was made a habitation of strangers, and became strange to those that were born in her, and her own children left her. Her sanctuary was laid waste like a wilderness. Her feasts were turned into mourning, her Sabbaths into reproach, her honor into contempt. As had been her glory, so was her dishonor increased, and her excellency was turned into mourning. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and every one should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion, and sacrificed unto idols, and profaned the Sabbath. For the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Yehuda, that they should follow the strange laws of the land, and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifices and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbaths and festivals. That's literally what we just read in Daniel. And pollute the sanctuary and holy people, set up altars, groves to Ashtaroth, and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts, that they should also leave their children uncircumcised, and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation. This is what the Israelites ended up consenting to the end that they might forget the law and change all the ordinances. And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die. In the selfsame manner wrote he to his whole kingdom, and appointed overseers over all the people, commanding the cities of Judah to sacrifice city by city. Then many of the people were gathered unto them, to wit every one that forsook the law, and so they committed evils in the land, and drove the Israelites into secret places, even wheresoever they could flee for succor. Now the 15th day of the month Caslu, in the 145th year, they set up the abomination upon the altar, and builded idol altars throughout the cities of Yehuda. and burnt incense at the doors of their houses and in the streets. And when they had rent in pieces the books of the law which they had found, they burnt them with fire. And whosoever was found with any book of the testament, or if any committed to the law, the king's commandment was that they should put him to death. So when Yahushua is talking about the abomination of desolation, Gentiles, even in I don't want to go there. Even in the new covenant, in the kingdom that's going to be made here on earth, they still can't get into the Holy of Holies. They still can't do the order of service because it's only for the Levites. They still can't do that. So when Antiochus came in and did all that stuff, that's an abomination. And then they were doing all these other things. So when Yahushua said that, he said where the abomination of desolation will be where it should not be, or something to that effect. He's letting them know when this happens again, or something to this effect happens again, that's the abomination. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to show y'all, and I just Googled this, literally. It says, abomination of desolation is a phrase in the book of Daniel describing the pagan offerings that replaced the twice daily offering to Yahuwah in the Jewish temple in the time of the Greek king Antiochus IV. Or the altar on which such offerings were made. Makes desolate is probably a reference to Antiochus himself as the bringer of desolation or horror to Jerusalem. The expression was later taken up by the authors of the gospel in the context of the Roman destruction of the temple in 70 A.D. Like, y'all have to see this because people are literally waiting for this to happen again. I'm about to show you it already happened. We're not waiting for that anymore. The Most High is waiting for us to get right now. We're not waiting for that anymore. Because what happened in Antiochus' time was before 70 AD. So when it happened again in 70 AD, that's how we know we're not waiting. That's already been fulfilled. It's already been fulfilled. Okay. So, yeah, I'll just read these. But again, Matthew 24, but pray you that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. And except those days be shortened, there shall no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Okay, can you read Mark 13, verses 18 through 20?
Mark 13, 18 through 20. And pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, for in those days shall be affliction such as was not from the beginning of the creation which God created unto this time, neither shall be. And except the Lord had shortened those days, no flesh should be saved, but for the elect's sake, whom he hath chosen, he hath shortened the days.
Okay, because nation rising against nation, we know that. Going back to Luke 21, we know we had to be persecuted first before any of that stuff can happen. I'm trying to catch some of this out. Okay, 23 through 24, I think I need to read again. But we know our people got led away captive to all nations by the edge of the sword. So, in the siege of Jerusalem, because again, the abomination of desolation already happened. It happened once in Antiochus' time, and then it happened again in 70 AD. So, of course, I'm just doing research, simple research. So we're going to read this. The siege of Jerusalem in the year 70 CE or AD was a decisive event of the First Jewish-Roman War, in which the Roman army captured the city of Jerusalem and destroyed both the city and its temple. The Roman army, led by the Emperor Titus, with Tiberius Julius Alexander as his second in command, besieged and conquered the city of Jerusalem, which had been controlled by the Judean rebel faction since 66 CE. Following the Jerusalem riots of 66, when the Judean provisional government was formed in Jerusalem, the siege of the city began on April the 14th, 70 CE or AD, 3 days before the beginning of Passover that year. The siege lasted for about 4 months. It ended in August CE on Tish B'Av, that's the day of fasting, a 24-hour period where we fast. With the burning and the destruction of the second temple, the Romans then entered and sacked the lower city. The Ark of Titus, celebrating the Roman sack of Jerusalem, and the temple still stands in Rome. The conquest of the city was complete on approximately 8 September. Now, Josephus was a major historian back in those days, and he recorded all this. So, can one of y'all read that, please? If y'all can get closer. Can you read that?
The whole thing?
Yeah.
Siege. I have to get closer because you know.
Yeah, get closer.
The words. Despite early successes in repelling the Roman sieges, the zealots fought amongst themselves, and they lacked proper leadership, resulting in poor discipline training in preparation for the battles that were to follow. At one point, they destroyed the food stocks in the city, a drastic measure thought to have been undertaken, perhaps in order to enlist a merciful God's intervention on behalf of the besieged Jews, or as a stratagem to make the defenders more desperate, supposing that was necessary in order to repel the Roman army. Titus began his siege a few days before Passover on 14th of April, surrounding the cities with 3 legions, I'm not doing this, on the western side and a 4th, I don't know that name, on the Mount of Olives to the east. If the reference in his Jewish war at 6.421 is to Titus siege.
Hold on, my
Stop,
bad.
child.
Hold on, my bad. Go back.
Go back.
So, go back when we talk about those armies.
The beginning of Titus began?
Yeah.
Titus began his siege a few days before Passover on 14th of April, surrounding the city were 3 legions. Do you want me to read them?
No, I can read from here. You good.
Okay. You want to spanking?
Yeah, I just had to go through that. Okay, so you remember what we were talking about? You just said, what did he say? When you see Jerusalem compassed with armies, flee you to the mountains?
Yes.
So Titus began his siege a few days before Passover on April 14th, surrounding the city with 3 legions, the Macedonica, 12, Fulminata, 15, and Apollinaris. So Yahushua told them about the desolation that was going to happen when they saw Jerusalem compassed with armies.
What are you doing?
That's what happened in 70 AD. On the western side, and the 4th ex-Francis on the Mount of Olives to the east. If the reference is in his Jewish war at 6.421, it's a Titus siege. Those difficulties exist with its interpretation that at the time, according to Josephus, Jerusalem was thronged with many people who had come to celebrate Passover. Because we come from across the world to celebrate, that. And then, those days when you got to be pure, you go through like days of purification leading up to Passover. The thrust of the siege began in the west at the 3rd wall, north of the Jaffa Gate. By May, this was breached, and the 2nd wall was also taken shortly afterwards, leaving the defenders in possession of the temple in the upper and lower city. The Jewish defenders were split into factions. John of Giscala's group murdered another faction leader, killing ourselves. Eleazar ben Simon, whose men were entrenched in the 4 courts of the temple. The enmities between John of Giscala and Simon Bar Giora were papered only when the Roman siege engineers began to erect ramparts. Titus then had a wall built to girdle the city in order to starve out the population more effectively. After several failed attempts to breach or scale the walls of the fortress of Antonia, the Romans finally launched a secret attack. When Romans reached Antonia, they tried to destroy the wall which protected it. They removed 4 stones only, but during the night the wall collapsed. John of Giscala had used his stratagem before and had undermined their banks, that the ground then gave way and the wall fell down suddenly. Titus had raised banks beside court of the temple on northwest corner, on north side, on west side. Jews then attacked Romans on the east near Mount of Olives. Titus managed to drive them back to the valley. Zealots set northwest colonnade on fire. Romans set on fire the next one. Jews wanted it to burn. Let's go to the next slide. Jews wanted it to burn. Jews also trapped some Roman soldiers when they wanted to climb over the wall. They have burned wood under the wall when the Romans trapped on it. Meanwhile, in city, Jews starved and some ate their own children. Remember the curses in Deuteronomy?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. She slew her son and then roasted
Oh my
him
goodness.
and ate the one half of him and kept the other half by her concealed.
Oh,
Wow.
Now, real quick, I'm going to go back.
I can't even imagine. Mm-mm.
The 56, the tender and delicate woman among you, which would not adventure to set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness, her eyes shall be evil toward the husband of her bosom, and toward her son, and toward her daughter, and toward her young one that cometh out from between her feet, and toward her children which she shall bear. For she shall eat them for want of all things secretly in the siege and straitness wherewith thine enemy shall distress thee in thy gates. Secretly, because then she concealed the other half.
Wow.
The Most High's word does not return unto him void. So,
Right.
after Jewish allies killed a number of Roman soldiers, Titus sent Josephus, the Jewish historian, to negotiate with the defenders. This ended with Jews wounding the negotiator with an arrow, and another ally was launched, or Sally was launched shortly after. Titus was almost captured during this sudden attack, but escaped. Overlooking the temple compound, the fortress provided a perfect point from which to attack the temple itself. Battering rams made little progress, but the fighting itself eventually set the walls on fire. A Roman soldier threw a burning stick onto one of the temple's walls. Destroying the temple was not among Titus's goals, possibly due in large part to the massive expansions done by Herod the Great, the Edomite, mere decades earlier. Titus had wanted to seize it and transform it into a temple dedicated to the Roman emperor and the Roman pantheon, pagan. However, the fire spread quickly and was soon out of control. The temple was captured and destroyed on 910 Tisha B'Av, sometime in August 70 AD or CE, Common Era, and the flames spread into the residential sections of the city. Josephus described the scene. As the legions charged in, neither persuasion nor threat could check their impetuosity. Passion alone was in command. Crowded together around the entrances, many were trampled by their friends. Many fell among the still hot and smoking ruins of the colonnades and died as miserably as the defeated. As they neared the sanctuary, they pretended not even to hear Caesar's commands and urged the men in front to throw in more firebrands. So they were trying to burn more people.
Mm.
The partisans were no longer in a position to help. Everywhere was slaughter and flight. Most of the victims were peaceful citizens, weak and unarmed, butchered wherever they were caught. Round the altar, the heaps of corpses grew higher and higher, while down the sanctuary steps poured a river of blood, and the bodies of those killed at the top slithered to the bottom. Josephus' account absolves Titus of culpability for the destruction of the temple, but this may merely reflect his desire to procure favor with the Flavian dynasty. I'm just trying to give you all some history real quick. The Roman legion quickly crushed the remaining Jewish resistance. Some of the remaining Jews escaped through hidden tunnels and sewers, while others made a final stand in the upper city. This defense halted the Roman advance as they had to construct siege towers to assail the remaining Jews. Herod's palace fell on 7 September, and the city was completely under Roman control by 8 September, the very next day. Over 4 months, the Romans continued to pursue those who had fled the city. Destruction of Jerusalem. The account of Josephus described Titus as moderate in his approach, and after conferring with others, ordering that the 500-year-old temple be spared. According to Josephus, it was the Jews who first used fire in the northwest approach to the temple to try and stop the Roman advances. Only then did Roman soldiers set fire to an apartment adjacent to the temple, starting a conflagration which the Jews subsequently made worse. I think I have a better picture of this. Okay. Now, as soon, so this is Josephus's recording of it. Now, as soon as the army had no more people to slay or to plunder, because there remained none to be objects of their fury, for they would not have spared any had there remained any other work to be done. Titus, who was Caesar, gave orders that they should now demolish the entire city and temple, but should leave as many of the towers standing as they were of the greatest eminence, because of course they love phallic symbols. That is, Phasaeus and Hippicus and Marimene, and so much of the wall enclosed the city of the west side. This wall was spared in order to afford a camp for such as were to lie in garrison in the upper city, as were the towers, the three forts also spared in order to demonstrate to posterity what kind of city it was, and how well fortified, which Roman valor had subdued. But for the rest of the wall surrounding Jerusalem, it was so thoroughly laid even with the ground by those that dug it up to the foundation, that there was left nothing to make those that came thither believe it, Jerusalem, had ever been inhabited. Didn't Yahushua say there wouldn't be one stone?
Mm-hmm.
He said there wouldn't be one stone.
Mm-hmm.
This was the end which Jerusalem came to by the madness of those that were for innovations, a city otherwise of great magnificence and of mighty fame among all mankind. And truly, the very view itself was a melancholy thing, for those places which were adorned with trees and pleasant gardens were now become desolate country every way, and its trees were all cut down. Nor can any foreigner that had formerly seen Judea and the most beautiful suburbs of the city, and now saw it as a desert, but lament and mourn sadly at so great a change. For the war had laid all signs of beauty quite waste, nor had anyone who had known the place before, had come on a sudden to it now, would have known it again. But though he, a foreigner, were at the city itself, yet would he have inquired for it. And we're going to stop there, because the rest of it we'll do tomorrow. But I just wanted y'all to see that people are waiting for another abomination of desolation that's already happened. And plus, those aren't the real people, so it wouldn't even be the same anyway, because we're not there predominantly. Felt like we needed to know that about the abomination of desolation, and just really, because I thought I had another picture, because I had another one where it literally talks about how, where's it at? Why is it not there? Hold on, let me see if I can find it. Because I know I got another one. This will pull up. Pictures, screenshots. Just try to find the right. Oh, don't tell me it just didn't load. I don't think it loaded, because it should have been this one. Well, anyway, if you go to Wikipedia or Google, it'll tell you that Titus, after he, took in Jerusalem and the temple, he came in there with the showbread and all the ornaments and all the gold and silver. And so when he went back to Rome, he was parading himself with it, because that's one thing. Even in the kingdom, they cannot go and touch the orders of service, the vessels of ministry, or whatever you want to call them. They can't do it, and that's one of the major things that he did. Abomination, desolation. They're not even supposed to really go in there, especially not the holies of holies. Only the high priest is supposed to go in there, and so they doing all of that. So that stuff has already happened. So we got to be looking for our people getting right, because with our people getting right, we got to be looking up for it, because our redemption is not. But again, traditions of men, nation against nation. The beginning of the end we'll get into next time, but it'll probably be tomorrow. I'll get into that. But that's all I got, unless y'all got something else.